So in this one we're going to make a kick drum, a very simple kick drum. This is going to probably be the most simplest video out of the lot of them, and the simplest sound. A kick drum is fairly easy to make in a synthesizer, and you don't need to do anything too fancy to it because it's mainly just low frequencies and whatnot. It's going to be a very electronic kick drum. It's not going to be a kind of a bass, resampled bass kick drum. So I'm going to load up an instrument rack into my MIDI track, and I'm going to use an operator for this one. So let's just insert a MIDI clip here and insert some notes so we can work on sculpting the kick as it goes. So I've just set the tempo to 130 BPM. So here's the kick. Excellent. So as you can see, we've just got one oscillator going, and it's a sine wave. A good idea to actually make a kick is to have a look at it. So I've just inserted a MIDI track. Let's set a sampler, and here's a kick here. So this kick, if we listen to it, it's a nice solid kick. And if we have a look at the waveform here, you can see it's basically a sine wave which starts really fast, and then it slowly slows down and fades out. And if you just think of that and what it would sound like by looking at it, you tell the faster the waveform actually is, the wavelength, the higher the pitch. So it's got a high pitch which quickly bends down and has a tail on it, which gives us that kind of, so you can hear that very high sound sweeping down to the low sound. That's what we want to recreate. So if we go back to our operator here and play our sound, we've just got a sine wave which is not doing anything strange with the pitch, but we can go over here over to this pitch envelope section, or the pitch section of operator, and we can turn it on, and we can give it a pitch envelope. So it's like giving the amplitude or the filter an envelope, except we're going to do it with the actual pitch of the note. So by turning this up, this line here will now change how the pitch of the note sounds every time it's hit. So let's listen to that. So you can see we've got a slight curve. It starts a little bit high, in fact. It starts at 12 semitones above, and then it comes down to the sustain point, which is 0 semitones. So if we were to move this up, the peak, right up, in here we can get really high. It's not really sounding like a kick at the moment. We need to make it a lot shorter. So let's bring the decay time back. But it's still quite high. But see how the pitch starts at plus 41 semitones. You can pick anything up there, goes down to 0 semitones. Let's bring the sustain down so it finishes, say, an octave lower. Let's see, hear that. Not bad. Even lower. Not bad at all. Let's bring the attack down, the decay down a bit. We don't need it that high. So just by playing with this pitch envelope, we can actually create a nice kick sound. Excellent. Now if we go into the oscillator envelope here, let's change the envelope so that the sound actually stops when the pitch envelope stops, which is at, as we can see, 61.9 milliseconds. So let's go over here, bring our decay down, and leave it about there. We'll drag it out until we're good. And one thing I like to do is let's add in a multi-band dynamics down the end. Have a look, there's our frequencies. Bring the threshold down on the mids, roughly. Compress it, let's say, to a ratio of 1 to 2, and then just bring the gain up. Very cool. Go back to the pitch envelope, let's bring this down. You can hear how there was an end point which was going up, so that's actually giving it a bit of a sucking feeling. We don't want that. Excellent. One thing we can do is if we want to have just a little bit of noise or some kind of click at the start to make it a little bit more active in the high end, we can use frequency modulation to do that. So using our B oscillator, which is routed into our A oscillator, we can pick something, say noise white, slowly bring the level up. It would also help to turn the filter on, bring the frequency right down, and play with the envelope. So turn the envelope up on the filter. You can play with a bit of resonance if you want. If you wanted to get it really busy, you could use another wave shape for the modulation. For instance, a square, set it on fixed. I'll stick with the white noise for now. So I'm quite happy with that. So here's our kick drum. We can add in a few here. And excellent. Let's map a few macro knobs to this. What sounds good? Let's change the how about the transpose of the pitch envelope if we want to get a lower kick. Let's put some notes back in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's quite a good one. We'll call that one map it to the transpose. Oops. There we go. We'll call that pitch. Excellent. We should we won't play with that one. Could potentially play with the decay time of the pitch envelope, this one here. Awesome, let's do that one. That sounds like a good one. So decay time map, let's call that decay. Actually, let's not map the transpose to a knob. Let's map the peak value to a knob for the pitch instead. So that'll bring that up and down. So we can have a really high one, lots of decay. We could have quite low. Very cool. And let's map the level of the white noise to this knob. So we'll call that white noise. Let's use that filter a bit. Let's actually put the white noise straight out instead of frequency modulating, see how that sounds. Good. And we'll map the decay of the pitch envelope, the filter envelope as well. Of course, remember the filter is going to also affect oscillator A, but it shouldn't matter too much. Get rid of the resonance. And yeah, excellent. I'm happy with that. We'll just call that, what should we call that one? That is the white decay. Excellent. So that's a very simple kick drum. As I said, it's a pretty simple thing to do. I mean, you can get more deep into it, but I like a pretty simple, straightforward kick drum. Yeah, there's also quite a lot of other tutorials out there which talk about making your own kick drums, and I don't really want to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. What do you call a kick drum? It's definitely a guy's name. Kick. Dick the kick. Fuck yeah. Alright. Save that in my instrument racks. Tom Cosm, Dick the Kick. Awesome. TomCosm.com.